Welcome to our episode about the environment. Human existence is quite impossible without the presence of a healthy ecosystem. Our environment comprises all living and non-living components and their interaction with a natural habitat. So from your point of view, Ahmed, so what do you think the individual's role to conserve the environment?
So I do think that we all want to feel empowered somehow. We all want to do something, but as I say all the time, the climate change isn't a case of just recycling water bottles or driving a hybrid car. I do think that we need some big changes, major changes. The word sweeping comes to the mind, but for that, it's going to take voting and putting people in government who are willing to address the problem. The problem being the climate change. So as I say, there's three things that we want for everybody in the world. Clean water, renewably produced electricity that's reliable, and access to the internet for everybody in the world. And to do that, it's gonna take not burning fossil fuels to generate electricity, but getting it some other way. And that's gonna take huge changes. I mean, just technically from an engineering standpoint, we're gonna have to stop having our electricity production as strongly as it's now and have it distributed. So solar panels on top of every big building and hypermarket, and then we need to have an electric grid to move the electricity around the way we move our cell phones and mobile phone calls. And so it is doable, but it's gonna require a lot of investment.
Okay. So what do you think about recycling plastic?
So I think recycling plastic is a good way to conserve our planet and the environment, but it's a big scam, which is gonna be surprising for most people. Did you know that only 9% of our plastic plastic waste is getting recycled, while the remaining ends up in a big landfill and they bury it underground? Which is bad because the plastic in landfills takes up to 1,000 years to decompose.
Yeah, that's right. So why only 9% of the plastic is being recycled?
Because you should know that 75% of the global plastic produced are thermoplastics, which can be melted and molded over and over, producing new plastic. But the remaining 25% is thermos plastics that can be softened when exposed to heat, making them near impossible to recycle.
Do you think that is worth it in 2023, sorry?
The recycling?
The recycler?
Yes, I do think it's worth it because it conserves the raw materials and natural resources, and recycled materials such as plastics, paper, glass, almost always takes less energy than the new raw materials.
Do you think recycling has disadvantages and advantages?
I do think. Are you asking about the advantages?
The disadvantage of recycling, yeah.
So I do think, yeah, it got advantages and disadvantages, but let's talk about the advantages first. So it creates jobs for towns and cities. It reduces the consumption of raw materials. And also it's a good way to conserve the environment from the plastic pollution.
Does plastic
And I forgot to point the disadvantages. So the recycling sites are always unhygienic, unsafe, and unsightly. Also, it results in pollutant, and it's more consumption, and it's more consumption of energy and pollution, and also the products from the recycled waste might not be durable. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So let's go to Nassim. All right, Nassim. From your view, what is the environment conservation and what the importance there?
So when you think about environment conservation, you typically think of someone not using as much water. So, for example, recycling plastic water bottles, just small-scale stuff between like families and simply just individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But on the bigger scale things, that will really not affect or amount to anything at all. For example, one of the biggest industries that affect the environment is, for example, the fashion industry. How that affects stuff. Hear me out. I know it sounds insane when you first hear it, but it's important. So there is this phenomenon called fast fashion, in which companies, the really big name brand companies, say Zara, for example, they keep releasing like new trend after new trend after new trend, and it is brainwashing younger generations such as myself and even older ones sometimes into thinking, oh, we really need this new thing, really need this new thing. So old clothes, for example, right now, most of the leather that we have used in bags and clothes is made from vegan leather.
Yes.
But here's the thing, vegan leather is in no way like vegan when you think like good for the environment. It's vegan as in it's made from plastic.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. Thrifting has really brought my attention to that. I mean, some people will instead thrift old clothes that are, say, for example, 40 years old. No, it's not bad. It's good for the environment. It's good for people because these old clothes were made from genuine leather and they last for years. This girl bought a leather jacket that was 40 years old. It was older than her and it was going to last way longer than she is going to live. But instead, we get companies feeding us, like force feeding us this information of, hey, this new thing, this cool new thing, you need it. And we keep like wasting new material. We keep creating more trash that is poisoning our planet as we live on it. Another thing about 40 and 50 years things. I noticed, I read this thing on a blog recently, the seasons as we know them and as we live them, we don't actually live them the same way we did, the same way our, say, ancestors or even our own grandparents lived. See, as time goes, the planet heats up. It just keeps getting hotter and hotter, and that eventually leads to climate change. It leads to climate change, which is really not good. So here's the thing. We don't experience seasons as we used to before. Like, I didn't grow up to see leaves like turning brown in autumn and falling down. They just yellow and stay on there, rot on the tree. But for example, my grandparents, they would tell me about how they sometimes would even see snow or something like that. These are phenomena I don't get to experience. All because of climate change and the fact that it is destroying our planet.
So, what do you think your role as an individual?
As an individual, well, from my point of view, it really just focuses on individual people, and that would not be very helpful in the grand scheme of things. However, it is still important. So there's this new phenomenon occurring called off-grid homes. I really like the idea of off-grid homes, and I hope to have one when I grow up. See, off-grid homes are basically homes that use none of the government-provided electricity, none of the government-provided water, nothing that is provided by a bigger corporation that exploits workers, exploits people and resources for the sake of making money off of them.
Yes.
So off-grid homes, for example, they always have gardens that they grow their own food in. We also have rainwater tanks to collect the rainwater to use for drinking and stuff and cooking. And solar panels are always installed on the rooftops, even just little families, not just big companies and stuff, just people living off like a solar panel or two, because that helps. It actually helps on an individual scale. And one of my favorite little tidbits about it is underground refrigerators. Instead of using electricity to power a refrigerator, people dig underground and make like cement walls or something to...
Do you think that we can see the things in the near future?
They already exist.
Really?
They exist. Off-grid homes are something that actually exists, and people are living in them.
It's not our country, yeah?
There might be. I have seen solar panels in my own hometown in Aswan. I mean, that's something. That's gonna amount for something. See, underground refrigerators, how they work is the sun directly hits the soil above them, but it doesn't reach the soil below. So underneath the ground is much cooler, and we can store food in it for long periods of time. That greatly helps, and we don't have to use any electricity. What pisses me off greatly about our lifestyles right now is that we create that big companies, corporates, and big industries create problems on purpose to then create a solution that you have to buy.
Yes.
They poison the water from the waste of their factories, and then they make another factory for plastic, and then they take the water that they did not poison and sell it to you. And hey, this water is poisoned. Why don't you drink ours? You poisoned it in the first place.
Contaminated. Yeah.
It's disturbing. It really is. We are living in a dystopian reality, and I don't want to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. So we should try to be green, yeah? That's all in all, we should try to be green to conserve the environment, okay? Thank you for today. It was great.
I
Thank
greatly
you,
enjoyed
Ahmed.
it. I also really want to
Great,
thank you.
and thank you.
I want to thank you for the dedication and the amount of time you put into this, because I can see it. Like, you greatly improved on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.